Hey, welcome to From the Baseline, episode 31. I'm Mark Williams, Premier Basketball Global Scout, and I appreciate you. We appreciate you tuning in. We got a good show for you today as we catch up on this week's action, and we're going to check in with Shane and Jason, and then we'll have a little global update there at the end. But we're going to get the show started off with our top performer. Top performer for this week is 2025. Kyla Hayes. Kyla is out of Western New York, and she goes to Maryville High School. And this past week, she took on Tonwanda, and she had a good game. 18 points, 8 rebounds, 4 steals, 4 blocks. And this is for a 2025 and 8th grader up playing varsity. And so a great performance and really a picture of a bright future here for Kyla. And so here's a quick clip from the game. Hey, welcome back. Hopefully that clip gave you a quick picture of the bright future there is for 2025 Kyla Hayes. And so you can see her this spring and summer. She's going to play with the Philly Bells. All right, we're going to check in with Shane, his basketball soul. And if you saw this week, I think it was yesterday, he posted an article about his time when he got to spend some time with Pat Summitt and his lunch with Pat Summitt and Kim Mulkey. So memories of legends there, an opportunity for really a basketball soul there in Shane to really kind of learn from and be around some legends. And so here's our check-in with Shane.
All right, we're back with the the weekly segment again. I appreciate everybody who's been watching consistently and maybe even gaining a few viewers here and there. First of all, coming to you from Austin, where we're just trying to stay warm. We're not used to this real weather, this real winter, and it is cold, and it's only going to get colder. And I saw the number 7 on the forecast for Monday. Doesn't really equate in my mind as far as temperature. So, check on me come Monday, Tuesday. But going back to the week, just some things that stuck out to me. We started off the week on Monday with, what ended up being, the number 1 versus number 2 matchup in South Carolina and UConn. And last week's segment, I did some analyzing of what I think are the top 5 programs. And just talking about some different aspects, whether it was shooting percentages or assist ratios or just some things that I've seen with their program. So kind of in that same light, looking at the UConn-South Carolina game, we were lucky to have the matchup. We got some bonus minutes, and it went to overtime. And looking at some of the numbers. So South Carolina, 7 assists on 25 field goals. So that's a 28% field goal ratio. UConn, 15 assists on 29 field goals. That's 51.7, so about 52%. Olivia Nelson-Adota had, I think, 7. So that's your center with 7 assists. UConn obviously opened things up, got a lot of cutting. They're starting to do a lot with Paige off the move and then letting her make plays out of that. South Carolina won the rebounding war, 52-39, which I don't think surprises anybody. Before that game, South Carolina had an average 17 rebounds higher than their opponents all year long. So turnovers. South Carolina had 21. UConn had 17. Neither team was good from the free throw line. South Carolina was 8 for 15. UConn 3 for 8. So not a ton of free throws shot, especially on Connecticut's side. And so all that's to say, stylistically, the two teams played a little bit different. I thought that UConn definitely moved the ball better and more deliberately than South Carolina. I think South Carolina guards get themselves in trouble dribbling too much. And I didn't think they played through Boston. I think when Boston got touches, she was very good. But it was almost like it was a second thought, which, when you have arguably the best post player in the country, you should probably play through her a little bit more. And that's just something those guards have to learn because I'm sure it's emphasized from Coach Staley. Ultimately, I think this game came down to UConn had 5 more field goal attempts, and they got better shots and possessions overall. So when you hear the cliche things about the game of inches and it's about the little things, not only in these big games, because this is arguably a Final Four type of matchup, it's your habits every day. It's valuing possessions. It's valuing how you play, and playing to the strengths of your team. So it's those little things and those games of inches that the difference is. If you analyze the stat sheet and if you watch the game, it was blow for blow. They're both competing on both ends. They both were pretty locked in defensively. And so it came down to essentially, like I said, UConn had 5 more field goal attempts, and they won the game by 4 points. So it's explainable somewhere. I watched a really good high school game this week, online, of course. I wasn't on the road. Paul VI and St. John's. Paul VI had, 9 or so games under their belt. St. John's had been limited due to their school, their schedule, their area, which has happened with several places around the country. So this is actually their first official game as St. John's. They've gotten some things in the fall, kind of as a club organization, but this is their first real St. John's game. So Paul VI had a little bit of an advantage in that sense, but we don't need to make excuses for St. John's. They're obviously really good, Coach Scribner, and then of course doesn't hurt to have AZ Foot on your team. AZ ended up with 34. Delaney Thomas, who 2023 for St. John's, who I really like, is just continuing to prove that she's expanded her range and being comfortable away from the rim. She does a good job on the glass. Not a lot of post-up touches, but when she does get them, she's pretty good. But just showing that she's got the ability to play off the 1-2 dribble pull-up, out of the shot fake, and she really helped them with a steady effort throughout the game. Obviously, AZ's the catalyst, but I thought Delaney did a really good job. She had 13 in the game. Paul VI was led by Bella Perkins, an unsigned senior guard that, under normal circumstances, she just wouldn't be unsigned. I think a lot of schools may be missing right now on a really good guard. She shot the 3 well. She plays well at the pick and roll. She got to the rim. She makes them go, handle pressure, guarded AZ at times late. So she had 19 in the win. Lee Volker, who signed with Duke, had 15. Fiona Hastic had 14, including the game winner that came out of a post-to-post elbow ball screen. Sealed the deal for the win, 68-66. Jalen Talley for Paul VI. I also like kind of an all-around forward game. Maybe a little bit of a tweener, but showed the 3, showed the ability to play out of the high post, drop dimes, run the offense. It was really good. As far as the flow of the game, early on, PVI hit some 3s, created a lead, and they got some easy looks off some Princeton actions for layups. And then St. John's was steady. They just stayed in it. They stayed calm. It speaks a lot to the leadership of AZ and then Coach Scribner. They just stayed in it. They got on the glass. They kept it close. I believe it was a 1-point game. I didn't write this down in my notes for now. I believe it was a 1-point game at halftime. It was a bucket. It was a possession difference. To start the second half, PVI went on a run, got up, I think, 9 or 11. And then again, St. John's steady. They just made them earn their points while they got stops and scores. The next thing you know, they're up 3, and Bella Perkins has to hit a 3 to tie it at 66. St. John's came down and had a possession. AZ penetrated, dropped it off. They were unable to finish the layup. Paul VI rebounded it, pushed it down, and then in the next possession, they were able to, like I said, get that entry into Hastic. They went post-to-post screen. She turned the corner, finished it to the right side. So great game, one of the better games I watched this year. Unique thing that they're doing because they're not playing a whole lot there. It was 20-minute halves, so it's a grueling game. And to maintain the quality of play, you got to take your hat off to both teams. Working through our ESPN Power Ranking top 25, which has been, nothing short of an experiment this year, really, because it's so subjective. And then some states started so heavy, like Texas, Georgia, Indiana, Ohio, and then some states didn't. A lot of the East, obviously California's still not playing. So, you kind of had to just bear with us through this one because essentially they were preseason rankings and there wasn't a lot to compare because there wasn't a lot of opponent comparison. So you do your best, but you put it on pause a little bit. You've got states playing now like New Jersey, some in Maryland, some in Virginia, D.C. like we mentioned, Michigan, some of the East Coast powerhouses. So they've been able to get a few games under their belt. So it's an appropriate time to have an update. And some new to the top 25 that we'll probably see. Paul VI, which I mentioned, is done a great job. They get wins over New Hope, St. John's, great wins. Seton, who's always a well-coached team, did well at TOC a few years ago. They've got a game Saturday versus Bishop McNamara, so that's going to be key. And the winner of that game, the loser of that game, is going to have top 25 ramifications. We'll see how it goes. BMAC sits at number 5 right now in the power ranking, but Paul the Sixth is climbing, so we'll see. Trenton Catholic, sort of a soft schedule so far, but obviously their roster is pretty loaded. Del Rosario, Angelica Velez, Zoe Brooks. They've got a key matchup February 26th versus St. John Vianney. So in my estimation, that's the best game on their schedule. We're certainly looking forward to that. Hoover out of Alabama, led by super point guard 23 Laniah Kelly. I think they're 27-1 as I record this right now, if I'm not mistaken. Pretty solid, certainly worth top 25 consideration. And I'm sure there's plenty out there that deserve this consideration. We'll have a considered list. Hopefully that gets published as well. But to me, watching them, they're pretty good. Fremont out of Utah, which arguably has the best front court in the country. You got Emma Calvert, headed to BYU as a big. Tamia Gardner at the forward, 2022, top level recruit, top 5 type, obviously. And then Maggie Mendelson, who's a top 25 player in the 23 class and in the center. So pretty good. And then right now, as we speak, they're like 19-0 or 20-0 or something like that. So doing pretty solid there. So those are all a few new names to our top 25 when we publish again. Currently, my personal top 25 as we speak: Hopkins out of Minnesota, Westlake out of Georgia, Lake Highland Prep out of Florida, Montverde Academy out of Florida, and Bishop McNamara hanging on to that 5 spot. But again, ramifications coming from Saturday. So that's what I got this week. As we're going into postseason for states like Indiana, Texas, Georgia, we're looking forward to that. We're going to keep an eye on things. Best of luck. Thanks again for tuning in. Always ready to talk basketball. Reach out. You guys ever want to visit. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks, Shane. Some AAU news from the week. As we're all getting ready for spring and summer, and still waiting to hear from the NCAA as far as if we'll have NCAA evaluation periods this spring, in April and May. But some other news. Under Armour's added 2 teams. Team Milliant out of Northern Cal, a response to the collaboration coming together of Jason Kidd Select. They lost their Northern Cal team, and then they also picked up Arkansas Select, and that's in response to the Banshees going Adidas, that Under Armour wanted a team there in Arkansas. And so those are 2 new additions. It's still kind of interesting to see how these shoe circuits will operate if there is no spring NCAA eval periods. Will they still hold their events? Will there still be Boo? Will Under Armour still be a Spooky Nook? Is Adidas going to do May? It'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. And we expect a lot more information coming soon, especially from the NCAA and from shoe circuits. But we've had many people reach out about premier basketball events. And so to know what events and what we're hosting, you go to premierbasketballtournaments.com. And all the events are there. Just click find an event at the top, and it'll pull up all the events that we're running or we're part of during this 2021 AAU season. So visit the website again is www.premierbasketballtournaments.com. So check out that if you want more info on events and stuff that we're hosting throughout this year. So other news this week is we have some commitments that have happened this week, not only in the United States, but also internationally. And so congratulations to everybody who's committed. Shelby Fiddler committed to Niagara University. Olivia Smith committed to Eastern Michigan. McKenna Andersen to Bethel College. Nicole Sanfilippo committed to Syracuse. Addison Frazier made her commitment to Rider. Ricky Lesenyego committed to Belmont Abbey. And Laniah Randle committed to Southern Illinois. On the international side, Erika Aspajo from Spain committed to Georgian Court University. And then yesterday it came out, Gisela Sanchez from Spain committed to Arizona. So Arizona gets another highly recruited, thought of international recruit, as Gisela's at Sigla there in Spain. And so, but congratulations to all those commitments this week and everybody who made that decision. That's a special day. And so we want to say congratulations to all of them. So, but there's your news for the week from Commitments and AAU News. Now we're going to check in with Jason. Yesterday he posted his preview of the Texas playoffs, and so which is always an exciting time in Texas when we get to playoff basketball. And so it's a win and keep playing, lose you go home. And so it's a fun time leading to the state tournament. So make sure and check that out on Shooting the J blog at premierbasketballreport.com. You can check out his thoughts and predictions for the playoffs this year. So, hey, some global news. Today it was announced that Eurobasket Women's Championship. Last week was the qualifiers, and they announced that the championship will be June 17th through the 27th. And they're going to have two spots, Valencia, Spain, and Strasbourg, France. And so they'll have they'll have 4 pods of 4, so it's 16 teams. They'll put 2 in Valencia and 2 in Strasbourg, and then they'll kind of end up coming together and playing. And so that's an exciting time as they plan to have the Eurobasket Championship. And we'll continue to check in with Tom as they prepare and be talking about prospects and stuff there that we'll get a chance to play there. So other global news, the NBL 1 in Australia released their schedule. And this is really an exciting time for young prospects and people who are wanting to see the future of Australia coming out, because this is a mix of pro players from the WNBL and development players. And so your development players typically, depending on the team, are going to get a lot more playing time. And it's really about developing the next coming up. The other cool thing with the NBL 1 this year is they're expanding out. Last year, it was the first 2 years really kind of Victoria Central, but now they have a West where it's Western Australia. They have a South, which is like South Australia. They have a North, which is Queensland, and then the Victoria area. And so it's really going to be exciting to watch all 4 regions. Majority of the games, if not all, will be live streamed, and there'll be rosters and all that kind of stuff. And PBR Global subscribers will be getting updates and players to know and rosters with prospects that are still recruitable. And so that's an exciting time. We missed it last year because of COVID, but it's really promising and exciting that at least in Australia, the NBL 1 season is back. And so we'll be following along with that. As the season goes, it's going to start April 17th, I believe, is the first game in the NBL 1. But it'll run all the way to the beginning of September for us to be around our Labor Day is when the championships are going to be. And your college prospects who've already signed will play. And then when they'll get to a point in the summer that they'll come over to the United States right before the fall semester. And so, but always a fun time, always great competition there at the NBL 1. And so we're excited to see the schedule release and to watch some games. So, but we appreciate you tuning in. That's the global update. We got to check in with Shane and Jason and got some AAU news, but we appreciate you tuning in. For Mark Williams and Premier Basketball, we're coming to you from the baseline.